ballers, threats to score every time down the court. The best of the best over the last 2 decades. Welcome back to 11 in the Last 20. I'm your host, Chad Landers. Thanks for tuning in to our latest countdown here on Blue Ridge 11. Today, we lace them up and head out onto the hardwood to see who's the best boys basketball player from our coverage area over the past 20 years. So let's hit the spotlight and see who made our list.
Close game. They need a shot here. Win the game.
I think a really great basketball player is someone that can score, can defend, is a good passer, can handle the basketball, is a great teammate.
Coachable, and by that I mean be able to take criticism because you are probably the best player.
When they're really good teammates and they're really good players and they have that combination, their legacy lasts forever.
As a coach, you look down and see who do you want in at the end of the game. That to me is how you tell who a good high school basketball player is. If you know for sure you want them in at the end of the game because you can trust them, that's a good high school basketball player.
Number 11, Calico's Nate Windham, 4-year starter, 3-time section all-star for the Eagles.
Nate Windham was a tremendous scorer back in the early to mid-2000s. He could get to the hole.
Windham drives, steps inside, hits a short running jumper.
But I remember just the range he had.
Windham for three. His second three ball of the night.
A great shooter.
You get him beyond the three-point line, that was his comfort zone.
Windham working one-on-one on Cornell. Gets a pick from Carvel. Sets and fires up a three. Got it! Nate Windham at the buzzer.
And when he would get into a groove, he would stroke threes left and right.
Nate was about 5'6", 5'7" maybe. He would take it into the lane on anybody. Didn't matter how big they were. He was going in there. He was just relentless. He would always attack. He was a really good three-point shooter.
Windham fires a three. Got it!
Nate Windham from outside, Eric, and he can shoot from outside 33. Three-pointers made in section 3.
He could handle the basketball. He was a really good on-ball defender. I mean, he was just a complete basketball player.
He was tough. Not a big kid, but he was one that never backed down.
What made him so good was just his toughness.
Windham off balance shot.
He didn't back down from anyone, and he was always so competitive. He wanted to win everything.
He wasn't afraid to get inside and mix it up with people, and he wasn't that big, so that's one of his traits that I'll remember.
For him to go into the lane against guys even that are like 6'5" or 6'6", that was a huge, that was almost a foot taller than him. But he went in there every time. He would attack, he would try to create space, lean in, create contact, and he was really good finishing inside for his size. I mean, it was remarkable. I mean, he scored over 1,000 points. He was on back-to-back section championship teams, and he was a huge part of that.
Number 10, Manheim Central's Tom Kenneth, boys' second all-time leading scorer for the Barons.
Kid could flat out shoot.
I remember Tom was a shooter.
Kenneth unloads for three, and he got it. There it is. That's what you're used to seeing from him.
Could score a lot of points. That always presented a problem when you were trying to play against him.
Kenneth, spin move, off balance, got the basket, and he drew the foul.
I remember he put up quite a few points on many occasions.
He was just a big guard, big, strong, scored so many different ways, which really is what made him the player he was.
Stops and fires and hits. Well, he's dangerous any way you look at it, either taking it the distance or stopping and firing from the floor.
He scored a boatload of points.
Oh, he got the basket and a foul.
And I think that he was just tough to defend because he could score in the post.
Oh, sweet move.
He could shoot the ball. He could score off the dribble.
Boy, he's just got a lot of ability.
He did so many good things, which ultimately made him a great player and really tough to defend.
He got the ball in his hand. He wanted to pull the trigger and let it fly. And when he got in a groove, he could rattle off points in a very short period of time.
Kenneth, a three,
Thus, the fact that he's over 1,000 points as far as his career is concerned. A guy I think Manheim Central depended on, and he stepped up and delivered when needed.
Number 9, Warwick's Dan Abbey, 3-year starter, 1,200-point scorer for the Warriors.
Well, obviously from a basketball family.
I don't remember Dan Abbey as being a real vocal guy, but boy, he set an example with just the way he played.
Schumann's outlet pass picked off by Abbey. Basket and a foul.
He scored over 1,100 points and was just a consistent force for that team.
Shot is up and good. Long ranger.
When I was playing in Manheim Township, playing against him, and he was a tall, athletic. One of the great characteristics I remember of him is him being able to elevate and get shots off.
Abbey in the corner for 3.
Nothing but net.
And having a really nice shot. He was a really special player and had some other guys around him and was part of some pretty good Warwick teams with Coach Walk at that time.
He was a natural scorer.
Abbey looking to drive. Does drive and a nice baseline move. Oh my, and Dubs was there to defend but still got it up.
It was just smooth, and a lot of times if you weren't around him every day at practice, you might not have known that he was going all out, because it just, things came easy to him on the offensive end.
I coached Dan his freshman year. That was my last year as a head coach at Warwick. Funny story about Dan was we were ending a practice, and we would usually end with someone making a foul shot or 2 foul shots, and it just wasn't working. So we took Dan, who I think was our 5th or 6th grade manager, and had him shoot the foul shot, and he ended practice. And I knew then this kid could shoot.
Abbey from outside sinks it, and that's a 3-pointer for Dan Abbey.
Well, here we go.
This kid was going to be pretty special.
A guy that, when again called upon, delivered for Warwick.
He was just a pure offensive threat, and played out that way. It was fun watching him.
Oh, baseline move, Dan Abbey, and a nice job of getting himself open.
Number 8, Conestoga Valley's Jeremy Scalota, 2009 league MVP.
Buckskins with Jeremy Scalota, of all the teams in the LL playoffs, the highest point per game average at 19 points. This guy's been lighting up all season.
Talking earlier in the evening with some of the Cocalico coaches, they said we got to watch Scalota. The rest of the guys we can handle, but Scalota is the real deal.
Jeremy was very good, pretty much all-around game, could score. If you left him open, he was going to make you pay.
Scalota open and nothing but net.
You can't let Scalota that far open.
But he was strong enough to post up, had a nice turnaround jump shot. He could absorb contact, and when he went to the line, he shot at a very high percentage.
Strong drive inside from Jeremy Scalota.
He also part of a very memorable game. They played E-Town for the league championship game at Manheim Township. Epic ball game.
Scalota for 3, nothing but net.
And Jeremy was a focal point because he was a guy that CV would count on and look to. Smooth, very fluid. Again, a guy his size, had a nice touch and a big point producer.
Jeremy Scalota, that playoff run he had as a senior, he just carried Conestoga Valley. I mean, he just night in and night out, he did great things for Conestoga Valley. And in the finals, he stepped his game up even another notch, to lead Conestoga Valley in that upset over Elizabethtown.
Scalota, a long 3, and he got it. Banked it. Whoa.
The thing I remember most about him is he's a winner. They ended up winning the league championship his senior year, and he was one of the main reasons they were successful that night.
And the horn sounds, and the Buckskins have won it.
Wow. The Conestoga Valley Buckskins are the Lancaster Leather League champions for the 2nd time in their career.
The countdown is only getting started. Coming up next, we look back at the best boys basketball players from number 7 through number 4. It's all coming up next on 11 of the last 20. Welcome back to 11 of the last 20. Next on our countdown, we head back 20 years for a player whose athleticism and dynamic scoring ability still resonates with everyone today. Check him out. Number 7, Ephrata's Dan Snyder, 3-year starter, 1,100-point scorer for the Mounts.
Dan would have been right at the turn of the century. The thing I remember about Dan is anytime you have a player that can score from all over the court, they pose a lot of problems, and Dan was one of those players.
Snyder hesitates, drives, baseline, reverse, off the glass, score the 2, Dan Snyder.
Now we're going back in time, but Dan Snyder was a great athlete.
Here's Snyder.
He gets double team, splits it, lays it up, and a pretty move by Dan Snyder.
Obviously a point score for an Ephrata team that, didn't have a lot of talent at that time, but a guy that they looked to as far as leadership. He showed by example.
Obley shot knocked away by Snyder.
And he showed up by scoring points. Very consistent player.
Snyder to the hook.
Dan was just a really competitive guy. He wanted to win everything. He was real physical, great athlete. He'd start at three-point line, take one dribble, get to the elbow, pull up, elevate over everyone, knock down baskets. I mean, he was just a really good athlete, really good scorer. Coming into the game when we played him our senior year, he was averaging almost 30 points a game. He was just a scoring machine, and there was not a whole lot we could do about it.
Snyder at the other end for three. Got it!
Well, I tell you what, Dan Snyder is on fire tonight, Eric. They cannot leave him open.
Back in those days, Ephrata didn't have great teams, and Dan was kind of the focal point of every team to stop, and he still was able to get his points, so that was pretty impressive.
That's pretty much been the story for the Ephrata Mountaineers. It's been Dan Snyder and his scoring.
He can play inside, he could hurt you with his back to the basket, he could hurt you from the outside, he could hit the three-pointer, full court, half court. He did a little bit of everything, which is why he was such a prolific scorer for Ephrata.
Number 6, Warwick's Joey McCracken, 3-year starter, 2019 most outstanding player in Section 2.
Unfinished business. You look at what he has done already in 3 years, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, nice shot there from McCracken as he stays hot.
What can you say about Joey McCracken? He's just such a phenomenal athlete.
The biggest credit I give to Joey is a lot of people, when you consider who's a really good basketball player, is you just immediately go to scoring.
McCracken way out front.
Obviously, Joey scores the ball, and he can do that.
Working one-on-one on Hagan. Boy, that's a tough matchup for Hagan.
The other things Joey does sometimes go unnoticed. And pretty much every game we play, Joey guards the best player on the other team. And to be able to do that, be the leader, be the point guard, be counted on to score points.
Oh, what a step! McCracken!
Wow.
And everything else we count him to do, but to have to guard the best player along with doing all of that and leading everybody else on the team. I told him all the time, I said, I'm giving you unrealistic goals, and if you come even close, you're doing a heck of a job.
Joey is one heck of a defensive basketball player.
As Warwick comes up with another turnover.
For me, what stands out about him on offense is when he's in the open floor. When he has a full head of steam coming down the court, he's tough to stop.
In his sophomore season, first round game against Lancaster Mennonite.
Down to 10.
Watch Burnside in the corner.
9. Terry off the mark.
He gets the ball at the defensive end, takes the ball up the floor.
Here comes McCracken.
He's got time.
Time is running out. There's only a couple seconds left. He drives, puts in a layup at the buzzer.
Gets the bucket, and that's the ball game. Warwick comes back to win it.
That game against Lancaster Mennonite was such a back and forth battle, and you could see Joey was buying into this, and I think he was enjoying it. And then to come up with that last play, to get that rebound, and instinctively just turning up the floor and running and getting that basket at the buzzer with the layup, an incredible finish. And Chad Landers, I think, was ready to fall out of the press box.
One of the greatest games probably ever played in this gymnasium.
I mean, it was just an incredible play, and I think that really maybe is what catapulted Joey McCracken up to that next level. Like I said, unfinished business, and hopefully a strong last chapter.
Number 5, Mannheim Central's Matt Walsh, 4-year starter, 1,200-point scorer for the Barons.
Matt was a really good athlete, and he was good at everything in basketball.
Walsh with a nice crossover, and he jams it home. Oh, you could see it coming, too.
He could finish around the rim. He could shoot. He was a good free throw shooter. Like, there was just... He was just good at everything, and there was no weakness in his game.
Reverse underneath, and it's Matt Walsh.
He was a great teammate. He's one of those guys that he kind of changed. We talk about culture a lot. He kind of changed that culture of our program because of how good he was to his teammates. Just an unbelievable guy all around. He cared about how others felt. genuinely cared about the younger guys and made everybody feel involved. The other key point I thought with Matt was a right-handed player who was so dominant going to his left hand, where if he went to his left hand, he could take a one-dribble jump shot, and he could go left, take that dribble, and if you didn't stop him, he was going downhill, and he was dunking with his left hand.
Look out. Oh, my. Get out of the way. You don't want to end up on a Matt Walsh poster.
Matt was just an incredible guy to coach on so many different levels. Just a special kid all the way around.
Emotional leader.
Walsh in the paint, dips in, bucket, and one.
He, I think, was the building block that really helped spring Manheim Central in that 4 or 5 year period where they became pretty recognizable as far as basketball in the Lancaster-Lebanon League.
Walsh would put up a 3 to start it and get the first points.
Well, there you go, right out of the gate, like I said.
A guy that could jump through the roof. Very athletic, like I said, an emotional player, and had a very strong inside game, and obviously was a guy that carried the load for a couple of years.
It's not a coincidence that during his era, Manheim Central had so much success, getting to the district finals, winning state playoff games, and he was a special player.
Number 4, Garden Spot's Todd OBrien, 6th all-time leading scorer for the Spartans.
Todd OBrien was one of those rare 7-footers in the LL League, but he had the skills to go with it.
Just what you want out of a big man. A guy that really can control the paint at both ends of the floor. 15 points a game.
Here's OBrien, a little floater. Using the glass to perfection was Todd OBrien.
10 rebounds a game.
O'Brien with the miss. Offensive rebound, and then he just powers his way inside.
5 block shots a game.
And now he's back. Oh, that's a nice, they say all ball. And he comes up with a block, does O'Brien.
That's exactly what you want out of your big guy. A rim protector on the defensive end, and a guy that gets points at the other end.
Todd was a very good player, and he was unique to the area, being that he's 6'11". You don't run into that every day.
For OBrien, the quick turnaround, 6-footer drained it. John, when you're 6'11", it's tough to stop.
Even though he scored the basketball, the number one thing in Todd's high school game was his ability to protect the rim.
That's what we were talking about in the beginning part of the show. That's the height of O'Brien. Just not maybe blocking shots, but making them difficult.
His biggest contribution was the shots that people didn't take.
And O'Brien swats that one away. 3rd block of the ball game from O'Brien.
When he was in the game, people wouldn't drive to the basket nearly because no one wants to get their shot blocked.
There's the block by O'Brien.
And the thing that was special about Todd was it's nearly 7 foot. He was a perimeter player. He was more comfortable facing the basket.
Snyder on the inbound, so O'Brien, nice little 10-foot jump shot from the big guy up and good, nothing but net.
That was nice.
And while it drove some high school fans crazy, wondering why he isn't just underneath dunking, that's ultimately why he became so successful at college and then at the professional level.
I've unfortunately had the opportunity to play against Todd, but in terms of big guys to come out of this league, he's as good as it gets. And one of the things I always say is big doesn't mean good, but if you put some skill with it like Todd was able to do, and just how he was able to change a game just by walking in the gym.
We've cracked the top 5 in our countdown, but coming up next, we unveil who made the top 3 and who's walking away as our #1 boys basketball player of the last 20 years. We're back on 11 of the last 20, and it's time to dive right into the top 3 boys basketball players on our list. Next up, this Eagle flew higher than all the rest, becoming one of the most dangerous three-point shooters in the LL League. Number 3, Cocalico's Tucker Lesko, boys' all-time leading scorer for the Eagles.
Kind of run out of adjectives as far as to describe, Tucker.
First word that comes to mind is shooter, obviously.
Tucker Lesko. Whoa!
Tucker Lesko was such a primetime player.
Tucker is the best shooter I've ever seen in high school basketball.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
That's insane. I mean, that's mind-boggling.
Pretty obvious that he grew up in a basketball house. His IQ is off the charts.
I think most local basketball fans have enjoyed and appreciated Tucker. He played, even still in college, just plays the game the right way.
His mechanics are so repeatable because he practiced so often.
So let's go for 3, and he got it.
He just had such a quick release. He could shoot from so far out. He'd take 1 or 2 dribbles across half court and he could pull up and he would shoot it like a normal shot. And I just always remember watching other coaches when he would make a really deep three, you would watch them and they'd be so mad and they'd be screaming and
sniper range.
And the guys on the defense are just like, what is this kid doing? He's shooting a shot that he shouldn't be shooting and he makes it.
He's redefining three-point range in high school, man. That is just insane.
When we got off the bus in Denver, we would find Tucker right then and just defend him right then because you had to defend him in the parking lot. That's what his range was.
We like to call him a rule breaker. Like, he's not the rule breaker, but we had to change the rules for Tucker when we prepared for him. If we tell people to pick you up 1 foot outside the 3-point line, well, the rules change when Tucker's involved because that's not going to be good enough. He would pull up from pretty much anywhere.
And a lot of these threes that he made weren't right on the line. These were legitimately 3 and 4 feet beyond the line. So this kid, he could score from anywhere.
As I've told others, Tucker had a lot of ability, and if he really, really wanted to, he could have scored more points than he did. But Tucker was a winner. He always has been. He still is in college.
It was just fun to watch him play all the time. And, you know, he went on to Hobart and holds the record for most threes made in a game, most threes made in a season, most threes made in a career in a college now.
Brings out Lesko, 3-pointer all the way. Tucker Lesko, single game 3-point record.
I mean, just perfectly illustrates what a great shooter he was and what a great player he was. Just a great kid, super kid.
Number 2, Manheim Central's Taylor Fung, Barron's all-time leading scorer.
We had heard about this kid coming through the system at Manheim Central, and everybody was wondering, you know, who he was, what could he do, and once he came onto the scene as a freshman, by the time he got to his sophomore year, he really became the face of Manheim Central basketball.
Here's a long 3 from Fung.
Hey, he said, hey, this is how you shoot from the outside.
You know, I was the varsity coach having to coach against Taylor for 1 season. And he made it pretty much impossible to draw up defenses to defend him.
Again, they're going down low to Taylor Fung, and he is just going to dominate down low.
He was just so skilled. He's so long. His length just made it. You could have the perfect defender in the perfect place on him, and it didn't matter. You could just shoot right over the top of you.
3-point shot is good. The big fella. How you doing?
32 points for Taylor Fung.
From the word go when he was a freshman, he could score from anywhere on the floor. Basically, when he walked in the gym, he was in range. But there were so many other things that made Taylor special. Taylor was incredible with the ball in his hands. He could find open teammates. He really made his teammates better. He was one of those guys that could kind of do everything.
Obviously, with his size, he could just dominate inside.
Got the bucket and he's fouled.
Boy, they're making Funk work for everything.
But that was only part of his game. I mean, he could step outside and just bury 3-pointers at will.
Fung turns and fires and hits the 3.
Oh, and he gives him the lead.
And you don't see big guys who are able to shoot the 3-ball like he does, which you see now at St. Joseph's too. He's gotten off to such a great start at St. Joseph's, you know, shooting that outside ball there too.
Funk with a 3 on the way is good. I
think one of the biggest things he did to really help himself was he got out of Lancaster to play in the summer and play AU and play against some top competition. Then when he came back to playing locally, everything slowed down for him, and you saw how dominant he really was.
Oh, nice block from Taylor Funk.
We were actually playing Manheim Central the night that he broke the all-time scoring record at Central. He had the ball out front, and he did like a fake dribble handoff, and then took it to the corner and did a step-back 3, and our defender was right there, had a hand right in his face. And he made it anyway, and that kind of perfectly illustrates just how good he was. It didn't matter what you did defensively, it just came down to whether or not he made the shot, and he made a ton of them.
His demeanor, his class, his character helped make the program what it was.
Number 1, Garden Spot's Curtis Waltman, second all-time leading scorer in boys LL League history.
Is this Garden Spot team better than last year's? This is a team last year that went to the first round of the state playoffs before bowing out. Of course, led by Curtis Waltman, only a junior, and he's already surpassed 1,000 points for his career.
Wow.
Curtis was the best high school basketball player.
Waltman for 3, got it again.
Probably the best, if not one or two of the best that I've ever seen.
Strong for the two, and Waltman answers right back the other end.
Curtis was one of the most impressive scorers I've ever seen, and I'm not a huge fan of scoring points. That's the only thing I watch, but with him, I mean, I was.
Wash the ball, leads it to Waltman, and Waltman lays it in.
Oh my!
And a foul to boot.
Washball takes a tumble, but what a play!
He was like a video game character. I've never seen anyone that could score at the rate he could.
Waltman around Lance, scoop shot, rolls in.
Boy, what a talent this kid is.
Curtis was very quick. Curtis could shoot. Curtis could get to the basket. If you look at his stats alone, just his scoring statistics, pretty remarkable.
Waltman looking to work it inside, stops, and banks it in.
Waltman's so dangerous. You don't know whether he's going to just take that extra step and blow by you, or pull up, in that case, hit the bank.
This kid played at 100 miles an hour for 4 quarters. He was not bashful about shooting the ball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He liked to shoot, but when he would shoot, he would deliver too.
Waltman for 3.
You just got to be feeling it when you can launch it from there.
To score 60 in a game, we often talk about 1,000 points in your career, and Curtis scored over 1,000 points in one season, which is insane. But anytime he was on the court, he had the potential to score 35, 40, 45 points. A nightmare to try to match up against.
Waltman leading the charge. And Curtis Waltman with the left hand.
As scores go, there's not many better.
Waltman drives a lane, and he's got it.
Tough drive. So there you have it, Garden Spot's Curtis Waltman, one of the best boys basketball players to ever hit the hardwood in the LL League, and #1 on our list. Thanks so much for joining us today on 11 of the Last 20. I'm Chad Landers. Come back next time as we dive deep into a new sport and start the countdown once again to see who's #1.